What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Timeless Movie Podcast, episode number 30. My name is Victor Vasquez. Thank you so much for coming back and listening. It is episode number 30. Again, I can't believe how many we've been able to do. It's been incredible being able to watch so many different movies. And for today's 30th episode, it's actually going to be a movie that actually didn't come out in theaters, but came out on a streaming service, which was Netflix. And that movie is The Gray Man. Gray Man was actually directed by the Russo brothers, who obviously a lot of people know as the famed duo that made the specific movies like The Winter Soldier, Civil War. Then you have the Avengers movies, and now they have come back to make another action film, this time starring Ryan Gosling, Chris Evans, and Ana de Armas. So we'll go ahead and kind of cover this specific film. What I like to do on these podcasts, if it's your first time listening, just kind of go through a general sense as to what I thought about the movie. Maybe before I actually get into those details, I'll talk about why I had an interest in watching it or what were some of my questions. Then I go through, again, the full-on detail without spoiling too much about what the movie is generally about, what were some of my highlights, some of my low points of the film, and then also go over my favorite scene, whether I recommend watching it, and then finally determine if this film is timeless after watching it once as well. So now that we have really the gist of what we're going to go through on this specific episode, let's go ahead and jump into segment number 1, which is starting off with the reason why I wanted to watch this film, as well as any questions I had before watching it. I think I already kind of spoiled a little bit about who are the main leads, but I'm pretty sure if you've seen any trailers, you know who's coming out in it. It's Ryan Gosling, it's Chris Evans, it's Ana de Armas. There's so many different people, and this cast is just amazing. So many good-looking people. I mean, need I say more? It's just a bunch of people that are just really good at their job. And they're all really just kind of bunched up into this cool action movie that The Gray Man is. Now, one of the questions that I had on my mind was, how would Netflix be able to kind of, supersede all of the previous Netflix action films that have come out? A couple of examples: Extraction with Chris Hemsworth. You also had Red Notice with Ryan Reynolds and Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Would it fall in those categories of just, okay films, nothing too spectacular, kind of nothing out of the ordinary as well? Or would it try to pass that, right? Would it be something that's actually rewatchable that you can kind of see over and over again? So that was my only kind of question and worry, is like, how would this film really be portrayed? Is it going to be taken very seriously? Is it going to be kind of go all in on action, but story kind of is lackluster? That's kind of what I was kind of going into as my expectations of it as well. One other thing that was getting my interest, which was the interactions that Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans would have with their characters. From the trailers that I saw, it seemed like they were basically going to be pitted against each other. The protagonist in Ryan Gosling and the antagonist in Chris Evans. And I was just, again, curious, how fun would those scenes be? Would they, they showed a couple of clips where they were talking over the phone. Would they have any other ones besides that? Were they going to be really hilarious and probably the best parts of the movie? Or, were they just going to be very quick little snippets as well? Another thing that I wanted to just kind of point out, and that was really what's going to catch my eye, is these two characters who, again, really great actors. I follow them in different types of movies that I've seen of them. And so it was really exciting to kind of get them on the big screen for the first time together in a specific action film as well. And the last thing I really wanted to point out, which was a question that I had to myself, was there going to be a crazy twist at the end? Was Ana de Armas' character going to turn against Ryan Gosling's character? Just to kind of give you guys a heads up, it seems like they're both some type of agents, and it kind of explains that they're kind of working on a specific mission. So it seems like they're partners in some kind of way. And then, would there be a twist again at the end where she kind of turns against him and now she's trying to help track him down? Didn't really know. But I was kind of curious as to what would be that big twist during the movie. All right, guys, those were really my thoughts as to, again, why I wanted to watch it, but also some general questions as to what would these things happen, or what would those interactions be, and how would the movie really fall under compared to, other specific action films as well. Now that I've actually seen the movie, let's go ahead and jump into segment number 2, which kind of details out exactly what I thought about it. Again, without spoiling too much for those folks that have not seen it. Again, I got a chance to watch The Gray Man a couple of weekends ago. It was a pretty cool film to watch. Lots of action scenes, which the Russo brothers do really well, as well as some unique camera shots that would zoom past certain cities. They would also zoom past different buildings. I thought it was really cool and unique how they were able to kind of pull off these, what I'm assuming, again, I'm not a filmmaker or anything, but I'm assuming that they were drones that were kind of carrying these very awesome cameras, and they just kind of zoomed those drones past these buildings around the cities. It was really cool. I really enjoyed that. Was it the best film of the year? I'm going to be honest, not even close. But the story made sense in certain parts, and the action was relentless. It was just constant, nonstop. You did have a couple of scenes that were breathers, a little bit of exposition. You'd have Lloyd Hansen, which was played by Chris Evans' character, kind of talking about why he wants to track down, which is Sierra 6, and that's actually Ryan Gosling's character's name, and how he wanted to kind of track him down. There were definitely spots where you kind of allowed the characters to kind of explore a little bit more about their mindsets. But other than that, it was really all action as well. A couple of nitpicks that I had regarding the movie was just specific scenes where it seemed like a character should have taken a little bit longer, to get to a specific city. I'll give you a brief example. What I loved about this movie, and it's probably one of the things that I'll mention a little bit later as well, is they jump from city to city, very quickly. You have cities like Berlin, you have Turkey, you have Vienna, you have all of these different places that, this entire story is taking place of the Gray Man. And there was a specific character, it was actually Ana de Armas' character, where she was in Berlin, and there was specific action occurring in Vienna, and all of a sudden in the movie, as it was taking place, it seems like she got there very quickly in order to save Ryan Gosling's Sierra 6 character. However, she went from Berlin to Vienna in a matter of minutes, when I feel like it should have been a couple of hours. Now, again, just a nitpick, and I know it's just a movie, it's not real. They probably did that and wrote it that way so that it kind of makes sense narratively that she is saving him. But it didn't feel like it should have taken a little bit longer, or at least they kind of should have put a little bit more stuff in between the scenes of her kind of leaving Berlin and then immediately getting to Vienna. Again, just a nitpick of mine. I even looked it up and I was like, this is like a 6-hour drive. How did she get here so quickly? But again, just something that I kind of pointed out when I was watching the movie. Another nitpick on my side was the plot of the movie just feels very familiar to other action movies, where you have a spy or a licensed killer is, again, suddenly having to go against the company that he's hired by. And so, again, you see him on the run, you see him trying to escape and survive throughout the entire piece of the movie, and then eventually he tries to get, payback for them trying to hunt him down. Now, these are just my personal opinions. I completely understand how other films, are influenced by previous films that have come before it. But that's just one thing that stuck out to me. Again, it feels like a story that I've already seen, such as like Skyfall from the James Bond series. You have other films like Mission Impossible as well. So there's a lot of different action movies when it deals with spies, and it could start kind of feeling very familiar. But that's, again, just my thoughts as I was watching it. There wasn't anything that was kind of way too, out of left field that was so different. It just kind of felt like it was a story that I had seen before. Now, onto the positives. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but the action set pieces were amazing. Whether Ryan Gosling's character, Sierra 6, was fighting in a plane or on top of a train or in a fountain, all the action looked really smooth. It just looked so, so choreographed and did it really well. And what I appreciated is that there wasn't too many crazy cuts. One of my pet peeves of when I'm watching an action movie is you have these actors that are doing really good and these stuntmen that are trying to do their best to kind of show the action and make it look as real as possible. And then you have these crazy cuts, or you have a shaky camera and you can't really follow the action. Now, there was definitely some shaky camera in this film, but not too much where it kind of disoriented you as you were watching it. It was really well done. Not going to be the best action that I've seen in a while. I still, to this day, think that the best action that I've seen in a movie is Shang-Chi. The martial arts and the fight choreography that they really played out in that movie, everything was almost like a one shot. There was no cuts or breaks or shaking cam. It was all just one smooth transition, and it was beautiful to watch. This wasn't at that level, but it still had really good action, kind of the patented action that you typically see from a Russo brothers film as well. Another positive that I wanted to throw out there was the interactions between the characters in the film. I really enjoyed it. I saw it a little bit in the trailer, but it's just big things that pointed out to me. It was dialogue between Chris Evans' character and Ryan Gosling, or Chris Evans and Billy Bob Thornton, who was another appearance that we saw in the film. It just added a lot of depth to these characters, which again made it easier to follow and to understand what are their motivations as they go through it. Why does Lloyd Hansen, Chris Evans' character, why does he want to track down Sierra 6? And then we have Sierra 6, played by Ryan Gosling. What are his goals? Why does he now have to be in this position in regards to being tracked down by his own company, the CIA as well? So all these interactions and all these opportunities of dialogue, again, just made the film a little bit more of a great experience because, again, you not only are just kind of following the crazy action and just seeing for the explosions and fighting, rather you're seeing, okay, they're tracking this man down. Why are they doing that? What is his intentions? What is he trying to hide in this case as well? And they offer a lot of different types of dialogue scenes from this specific perspective as well. Another element of the movie I really enjoyed was the, again, different settings that they were shown. I mentioned a little bit earlier, but here are another couple of names. They traveled to Vienna, Turkey, Thailand, Berlin. There's so many different cities that they traveled around. Now, again, I know that some of them that like maybe they didn't really travel for the movie. Again, I know that it's just a movie. They may have created set pieces that look very familiar or traveled to other countries. But I just like the fact that they make it seem like as a movie audience like that for us, they make it very clear, like, hey, here's where they are now. Here's where they are. They're moving and moving and moving and tracking, especially if you were, let's say a CIA secret agent like Sierra 6, you're being tracked down by a company. Where the heck would you go, right? All these different types of safe houses that you might have, where are they? And I just really like that they kind of went back and forth in all those as well. Just as a, again, general synopsis of the film, just going to give you guys a gist of what the film, kind of how it played out as well. Ryan Gosling plays Court Gentry, but he actually goes by Sierra 6. And he's part of a CIA group called the Gray Men, a set of really licensed killers that are top secret, and only the CIA knows about them. Nobody else does. 6 actually starts his mission by taking out a target, but he ends up finding out that the CIA is covering up a secret. Sierra 6 is then handed intel that shows evidence of some type of corruption that the CIA has performed. That is really what ends up leading 6 to go against the CIA. The agency has basically no choice but to recruit the help of Lloyd Hansen, played by Chris Evans, who does a lot of dirty work for their different agencies that are in the US. He makes it his mission to do whatever it takes to kill Sierra 6. Then chaos ensues in multiple cities and countries until they finally have a showdown near the end of the film. Now, I'm obviously not going to spoil so that you guys can actually enjoy the banter between the two characters, but it was a really fun showdown between Lloyd Hansen and Sierra 6, so definitely be on the lookout if you do go ahead and check out The Gray Man. Overall, I enjoyed watching the film. It had its pros and cons, but I feel like, again, it wasn't a terrible film. Out of all the ones that I've watched in Netflix and that I've seen over the past year, it definitely was not on the bottom of that list. I would actually recommend folks go out and watch it, especially if you have a Netflix subscription. Definitely go ahead and check it out. Again, I really enjoyed the actors and the really fun action sequences that they were able to pull off. Again, just really fun stuff. So if you're interested in that, or if you have a specific actor that you're kind of curious to kind of see how they did, definitely give this movie a chance as well. All right, now that I've kind of talked about my overall thoughts, highlights, lowlights of The Gray Man, I want to jump into the next segment where I kind of try to give out my best performance of the movie. Like I mentioned in the previous segment, I felt that Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans were the biggest positives of this movie. Again, their banter with each other was just a lot of fun to watch. But if I had to choose one, I got to go with Chris Evans as Lloyd Hansen. There's something about Chris Evans playing the villain that just kind of works. He has some hilarious lines, and he has just this almost like a cool macho charisma that's just awesome. Like every time he's on the screen, you just kind of already, your eyes are just kind of gravitated and kind of locked in with him, and then you kind of see his character and they explore a little bit more about why he's a psychopath, and it just kind of makes you go, oh man, like you got to watch out with what he's gonna do. And again, I think that kind of that psychopathic side of him just, again, it tells more of that story, and it tells a little bit more about he would basically kill anyone that got in his way of his mission. He showed no remorse for any of the deaths that he caused throughout the film, and it just added to how ruthless his character was. Out of all the characters, he also had the most runway with his character. He really had to go out there and be as ridiculous as possible. And I felt like he achieved it. He showed off that you can't just kind of, I was laughing at a lot of the scenes that he did, but you know that, again, he didn't care if he was killing men, women, children, no matter what. His mission was to kill Sierra 6, and he was going to do it at whatever cost. I also want to shout out Ryan Gosling. His character, Sierra 6, didn't have that many words to say, but he made every line count. Whether it was him saying that his ego was bruised, or mentioning how he felt emotionally, or even saying that, how he felt like about Ana de Armas' character saving him multiple times in the movie. It was just funny to me because, again, how the way that he delivered it was just with a straight face. Ryan Gosling just kind of saying it, straight down the middle. No, no other types of emotion, just kind of straight face, like, yeah, my ego's bruised right now. And so it was just so funny. So I got to give a shout out to Ryan Gosling. He did a really good job as Sierra 6. But my favorite performance overall was Lloyd Hansen, played by Chris Evans. All right, now that I've kind of talked about my favorite performance, I actually want to go through my favorite scene or moment of the film as well. I am going to jump into a little bit of spoiler territory. So again, if you have not seen the movie, feel free to jump ahead a couple minutes. That way you can kind of go to the last segment where I talk about whether I consider this a timeless movie. Hopefully that gives you enough time. Again, if you haven't seen it, please jump out of the video now. All right, my favorite scene was, interaction between Lloyd Hansen and Donald Fitzroy. That's actually the character played by Billy Bob Thornton. He basically is the man that recruited Sierra 6 to the CIA. In that scene, they basically go back and forth taking jabs at each other, and it was awesome. I know I typically point out action scenes as my favorite ones, but in this case, it was actually all the dialogue between the two characters. This was our first real taste of what Lloyd was about and why he, who was going to be his next target. And then he also was able to kind of use his deduction to kind of figure out the Gray Man program. And he knew, okay, I know that this program is basically confidential. I know that I don't have any information on Sierra 6, but there is information on one person. And that's the man that recruited him, Donald Fitzroy. And so basically he pays him a visit and, he sets the record straight. And he tries to intimidate him by using Donald's niece as leverage. He basically kidnapped his niece and, showed him over phone and basically told him, if you don't listen to my orders, your niece is going to die. So you got to tell me exactly where Sierra 6 is. Again, there was just a great interaction, reeled me in on the character of not only, Donald Fitzroy, who's the CIA or former CIA lead for the Gray Man program, but it just kind of reeled me in on Lloyd Hansen, and you had to take him seriously because of what he would do. Then there's the interaction between Lloyd and Six over the phone. You saw little bits and pieces of it on the trailer, but they both proceed to say that they hate each other within minutes of talking to each other, and they haven't even come face to face. So it was really good stuff. Again, it made me enjoy those small moments of interaction between the characters, and it made it that much more sweeter when they finally got to meet face to face and obviously have an epic battle between each other with their fists and a couple of other weapons as well. Also want to throw out there, just as I couldn't help myself, guys. There was one action scene. Again, I'm not going to go too much into detail of it, but it actually involves Sierra 6, Ryan Gosling, on a plane trying to escape. And he's basically fighting these 6 or 7 other CIA agents. And he basically wrecks house. He knocks all of them out as the plane is actually crashing too. So it's crashing down and he has to just try to find a way to survive. It was a lot of crazy action and really good visuals. So definitely be on the lookout when you go ahead and check out that movie on Netflix. Try to be on the lookout for that action sequence on the plane as well. Really good stuff. All right, everybody, we have come to the last segment already of the podcast, and it is the most important question, which is this film timeless? Would I go ahead and rewatch this myself personally and consider this a movie that, again, I can rewatch down the road many years from now? At the moment, I do not believe that The Gray Man has the potential to be a timeless movie. Although it has some really good positives with the characters and the unique camera shots and awesome action scenes, there's nothing that truly stands out besides that makes me want to watch the film again. Now, again, not a negative against the movie, but if I'm considering watching a specific type of spy film with lots of action, I might choose other films like I mentioned before, like Skyfall or Mission Impossible Fallout or even The Winter Soldier. All these films just had really great action sequences, but what stands out in each one of those is that the story of those films just felt different, right? What they were telling in the story just made sense. And they all made some type of finality at the end of the film. Whereas in this one, in The Gray Man, the film ends with a setup to a sequel. And not that there's anything wrong with setting up a sequel at the end of a film. There's been a lot of previous films that have done that and it still works. But in this film specifically, I feel like that there should have been a better finality and a better landing. That way, it felt like a complete story. At the end of this, it just kind of felt like, yes, the Gray Man, his whole kind of character comes full circle, but for some reason there still needed to be a little bit more consequence for the antagonist in the film. Again, I'm not going to spoil too much about it. I just felt like it could have been a little bit more explanation. That way we kind of see a complete circle of the film. But again, it just ended with a setup for the sequel. Either way, it was a fun movie to watch, but not something that blew me away and left me wanting more. But those, again, are my personal thoughts, guys. Always want to make it clear. This is just what I thought. Movies are subjective. Everybody can feel something different for every movie that they watch. I might like this movie. Other people might think this movie's terrible. So you never know. But what I really want to do is I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from you. Have you guys seen The Gray Man? And if you have, what were your favorite scenes? What were your favorite moments? Did you like Lloyd Hansen? And do you consider this movie timeless as well? Let me know down in the comments below, and that way we can interact a little bit more about The Gray Man. All right, everybody, thank you so much for coming back and listening to another episode. My name has been Victor Vasquez. This has been episode number 30 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. Make sure to be on the lookout for next week's episode, in which we'll be covering Bullet Train starring Brad Pitt. All right, guys, I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Take care, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.